And we are interrupting your regular Oz Property viewing to bring you this emergency broadcast. We have the lovely Jackie Skeen from Logan Realty, and I want to hear about how you're going. How are you going first, Jackie? What's happening?
Good. Busy. Pretty good. Everything is good. Yeah.
How about you, Joe? What's happening?
I'm good, mate. I am very good. I'm excited. I'm excited for today. This is a special news announcement talking all things property investing related to Queensland specifically, and these new tenancy laws that are coming in. They're coming in. They're not proposed. They were proposed. They're now coming in 1st of July, I think.
1st of July. Yeah.
That's not far. That is not
Very
far
soon.
at all.
So it's interesting because this is off the back of that very controversial Queensland land tax changes, which were ultimately scrapped. But this one, I think what we're going to when you're watching this video today, we're going to unpack what is actually changing. So how does this impacts investors, which is what you really want to know, and what you can do about it, and also what it means. So I think that's important. We'll keep this to 10, 15, 20 minutes. But let's unpack it straight away. So, Jackie, what is changing for investors up there in Queensland?
Only thing that's changing. So, essentially, in the current legislation, a investor can increase the rent every 6 months. So, you can increase every 6 months. Only thing that's changing with this, and I'm surprised it's getting so much media hype because it's actually not that big of a deal, is that 6 months is now 12 months. So, from the 1st of July, you can only increase a lease renewal every 12 months. So that's the only change. It's gone from 6 to 12.
Interesting. Why did they decide to? Do you have any context as to why they made that decision, or is it rental affordability?
I think it was probably something to. Well, my idea of what is actually going to happen from it, I don't know if it's actually going to benefit the affordability crisis that we're in at the moment. But I think it was their way of saying we're doing something towards it. Rather than, and that's why it's very politicized that, we've done this thing. And it's like, when you actually understand what it was before, it's like, you've not done much, because how I see this is happening. So essentially before you do a 6 month lease, you can increase it and do another 6 months if you want. Most of my clients would be doing 12 months anyway. They like the security. They like to know, that's locked in. Some of my clients like less paperwork, but what I see happening with this would be that, so rather than being able to increase it every 6 months, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive on the 12-month leases. Rather than saying, okay, 500's market value, they'll be like, can we push it to 510 because it's been hyped up so much, when, historically you would have just done a 12-month lease at that amount. So that's where I think or they will go to market and move the tenants out and go for the maximum.
The interesting thing, yes, they've changed it from 6 to 12 months, but is there any other, is there a maximum how much you can increase the rents, or they haven't done anything with that?
No, I know. That would be the logical thing. And, it's so much misinformation out there with tenants. I went to a property the other day and the tenant's like, they increased my rent $110. And I spoke to the RTA and they said they can't do that. I'm like, it's not true. There's nothing in that about maximum. I don't know who you spoke to, but there's nothing in there about maximum amounts. You can increase it. So the process with rent increases in Queensland is a tenant can dispute it if they feel it's a excessive rent increase after they've signed it, and then they can take it to QCAT as a non-urgent hearing, which the wait times are like 8 months.
Wow.
And then, so it's so backwards, but there's no amount you can. And then all an agent would have to do, which we do, is provide evidence that that's the market value. So you can increase it to market value. So as long as you have 3 or 4 comparables, it's like, hey, these are what these rented for. So that's the rule. So you'd think logically they'd put something in place like, hey, you can, and I think the Greens were trying to do something like 2% rent increase or whatever. I've not heard anything further about that. But yeah.
So what are some of the more realistic things that they could be doing? Like, have you had a thought about what they could be doing to help this rental crisis?
I got so many ideas. I've been so what my idea would be to do it, because it's not a supply issue, in my opinion, if tenants are more flexible on areas and saying, rather than saying, I live in these 3 suburbs, if they said, I live in one of these 10 suburbs, there's stock they can find. There's new stock for rentals coming on every week. And there's also new builds that are coming to completion now. So that's drizzling in. It's an affordability crisis. The point is, if you're a single person on your own, how a property manager will process your application is you need to earn at least 30% of the rent. I'll explain that differently. So if the rent's $300 per week, you need to be netting $900 in your hand.
Okay.
Per week. Okay.
So
Yep.
minimum, preferably 25% is more comfortable. So that would be $1,200 in your hand. And we look at those percentages on the applications. But if you're a single person and the rent is $450 a week, you need to be earning, $1,350 a week in your hand as a single person. That's quite an attractive salary, and the wages aren't there to support that. So it's an affordability crisis. I'm renaming it.
Interesting, but so essentially what you're saying there is it's more about maybe tenants' expectations about where they can live. So if
expectations 100%, and if you are both on Centrelink and not working, you probably, it sounds weird even in Logan, you probably can't afford a house in Logan. You have to go to a granny flat or a duplex or move out to Ipswich or some of those areas where they have more affordable properties. So back to your question about my ideas for affordable housing. So what we see a lot of in Ipswich and Logan, and also Brisbane and the Bayside in Queensland, is high set houses. So the legal height is 2.4 for it to be deemed as like a livable space. All the ones built in the 80s and 90s were 2.2, 2.3. So they're literally so close off it. If I was to go and do something quick, I would say effective immediately, you can rent that on a separate lease downstairs as long as it has a bathroom, a kitchenette, and a separate bedroom.
Wow.
And then what you do then is it benefits both the investor and the tenant, because one, you have two affordable properties. So then you have two properties at $350 a week that is, that's considered affordable. And then from the investor perspective, you've now essentially subdivided it. You got two rental incomes, and the yield.
You've increased your rent by about roughly 50%, maybe sort of 50, 60%, rough numbers.
Yeah. So there just have to be a relaxation from 2.4 meters height to probably, I think 2.1 is getting a bit low, but maybe 2.2 meters, which most of them are. And then, allow the addresses to be separate, two leases. The owners then have, more borrowing capacity. So that's one of my ideas. And also,
solid idea. I like that one.
Yeah, I've got a link to report it, but the whole taking the idea to Parliament is so time consuming. It's like, fill out this, and then you might get selected, and then you do a Zoom, and I'm like, can I just send an email and someone look into this?
Maybe get Alex Steffen. Maybe he's town planning. Maybe it's an opportunity because I think he likes these. He can get some AI behind it. But what I was getting back to the changes to the legislation, because I love that we're able to talk about some of the what's happening on the grounds of the rental properties as well. But what do you sort of see that landlords should be doing to make sure that they can sort of still have a feasible rental property with these with the new legislation that's going to come into place July this year?
I don't think it's going to affect it much. It's just, we were going to do 12-month leases anyway. So just continue with the normal strategy. And then obviously increase it to market value whenever you can, because chances are that market value, even if you go $500 for a 12-month lease, and market value is like $495 or whatever, chances are in 12 months it'll be worth $540, $550, because anything in that low price point people want.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a big deal whatsoever. This seems like a little storm in a teacup, and the policy has just hit a nerve because it is such a big issue right now, but it's not solving anything. It's not creating any difficulties for investors or for tenants. I mean, it might give the tenant a little bit more kind of peace of mind, I feel, and certainty behind it, because it would feel better, but maybe in reality, it's not really going to shift up anything too much.
But you can still renew a lease for 6 months. You can renew a lease for 3 months. So you could still do that. You just have to have it noted in the system. We would. saying, okay, this is the last time the rent was increased. You could do 4 3-month leases if you wanted to as an investor. And you just have to be mindful of the rent increases. So technically, no, it doesn't even give the tenants any more security, because we could still do shorter leases if the owner's on the fence about the tenant.
Yeah. So I think what I'm taking from this is it's just something I'm picking up on earlier. You said about that the tenant can take somebody to tribunal if they're unreasonable sort of rent increase. So I think it's just vital that people aren't sort of gouging their tenants. Like if you want to charge it, if you want to increase your rent by $100, you just need to be able to justify that, I think, and have that conversation with property manager, whether that be Jackie, whether that be whoever it is. Around the grounds in Queensland. But I think that's absolutely vital to understand your rental market that you're leasing your property in. As we sort of finish up, I want to sort of ask you a bit of a bonus question. What sort of new and interesting things are you seeing around Logan, Jackie? Give us a bit of an update. What are the new and exciting things you're seeing?
Lots of roadworks and traffic. No, there's a lot of what is interesting in I'm liking the different like granny flats and those kind of interesting strategies, because it ties into that affordable housing. So yeah, I get really excited about any kind of solutions that we're coming up with for our clients that, one, creates more affordable properties, and two, in turn benefits investors, because you can diversify that and make the yields huge. So yeah, I'm loving and a good renter. I love to go see like the before and after of these properties. So yeah, that's my favorites.
Opportunities abound.
Love it. You just got to make it happen. That's kind of what I'm seeing out there in the market with all of these interest rate rises and things like that. Some people are getting scared, but it's just like anything with investing. You have to put a little bit of effort in and you will get the results. So if things are a little bit tight on the cash flow, great. How do you create more cash flow? If you've got a couple of, you've got a little bit of money set aside, build a granny flat, put it on the back, boom, cash flow problem solved. But there's so many opportunities out there. So thank you very much, Jackie, for sharing those valuable insights on the new tenancy laws that are coming in. It's not all that bad. Everyone just chill out. It will help, hopefully, but it's not going to hinder anyone.
You know what they say when people to just relax, Joe. Just don't stress. Like, that's probably the worst thing to tell somebody, but when you actually want them to relax. But no, we wanted to make sure that we kept the Oz property investor community informed from somebody who's boots on the ground managing properties. I think you've got hundreds of properties, haven't you, Jackie, you're managing, or at least many that you're managing very well. And that's why we wanted to chat to you from My Logan Realty, Jackie. Thanks for joining us on Oz Property Investors.
See you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.